Hello all, welcome back to another edition of Quick Excel. Today we're going to be talking about named ranges. For more basic Excel users, you might not be familiar with this feature, but it's a very useful tool, and we'll go over why and how to use them. So first of all, what is a range? So a range is just a cell or a collection of cells, and you'll see that Excel already gives each cell a default name. So they name it by the column, which is A, and 1. So A1, A2, B1, etc. So what if we want to do our own named range? So that's easy. We just select the cells that we want to name. Then we go up to where the name is. And let's say we put in product table. Then you click enter. Now that range of cells has the name product table. So there's a few rules that you have to follow when you're naming a range. One of those is it can't start with a number, and there can't be spaces in your name. So I usually do something like capital on my first word and then capital on the last word, but you can also put in an underscore between them and something like that. So now that we have a product table, how do we use it? So you can use it in your formulas. For example, Vlookup. So let's do Vlookup. We'll choose this cell. And then table array, we can use that product table that we just did. We can go down to it. You see it shows up in the list, and just hit tab and it'll autocomplete. And then column, let's take the second column and we'll just do false, and it should return art. There, we got art. So another thing you can do is you can create a lookup table for a data validation. So if you're not familiar with data validation, so if you go to the data tab, there's this thing called data validation. We'll just create a small range called segment options, and then you can create a drop down just by going to data validation, putting in list. We'll go equals segment options that we just created, and then we'll click OK. Then you can see now the user has a drop down where they can select one of these values that we created in the range. And if we change a value to, say, new, then new will be changed to that value. So you can have a more dynamic list for your drop downs. You can also use this in pivot tables, and you can use it if you're writing VBA macros. Whenever you reference a range, you can use that name instead of F6 through whatever. And then if you ever have to update the ranges, you go to the formula tab and go to this named range. You can see the ones we created here. And then also I have a nice little tip. So if you want to make them more dynamic, because these have set number of columns and rows, you can put in this little formula, which is offset. So you select here the cell that is in the upper left most part of the table. And then there's two parameters that you're not going to set, so you just put two extra commas in there. And then this count A will count. So in this, you have to select one of the columns that has a value in each row. And count A will tell you how many of those have a value in them. So it'll define how many rows you have. And then you do a count A of a row that has a value in every column. And that will tell it how many columns should be in there. So if we go and we look at what this defines, it defines, you see, went a little far there, but defines everything that's in that table there. and then let's just close this out and add a new row. We'll just put like new row, blah, blah, whatever, some values. And then if we go back and we check what is the extent of the range, you can see that it added that new row. So that one will be dynamic and it will change as your data changes. So those are my tips and tricks for named ranges. I hope that you find that useful and you're giving me a thumbs up or subscribing if you learned something. All right, thank you. Bye.